Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And all glories to the attendees at this weekly Bhagavad-gītā As It Is reading and discussion with the Prabhupada Disciples Association. This association is focused, its members are focused on Srila Prabhupada as Diksha and Sishya Guru. And in this way, all of us are connected to the disciplic succession in an authorized manner. This is a key to element in making advancement in spiritual life and getting out of the insanity of the mind. The mind is not our friend most of the time. It's always circulating in the ocean of material misery and suffering. This is the position of the living entity in the material world, all of us. And so through this Bhagavad-gītā As It Is reading weekly, it's a weekly sadhana program that we're conducting here. And it's 3 times a week. On Wednesday, we have Chaitanya Charitamrita class. And that's at 8 o'clock every Wednesday evening. And you can put this in your calendar on Saturday morning, 10 a.m., Bhagavad-gītā As It Is. And Srimad Bhagavatam on Sunday morning, 10 a.m., Eastern Standard Time here in Canada and America. And we're also broadcasting on YouTube, Krishna Consciousness Movement YouTube. And we're requesting everyone to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to also refer others that are interested in spiritual life to this channel so they can have an opportunity to get the association of Krishna conscious devotees who are interested in spreading the mission of Lord Chaitanya according to Prabhupada's teachings. This is a problem that is existing. There are so many insane people in this material world, totally crazy. And this type of turbulence can be disturbing to others. Even on the material platform we see these days, there's so much tragedy taking place in the world of dreams, especially with war going on. And these wars, whether it's the Ukraine or in Palestine and Israel, they're a real tragedy. It's a dark cloud over the human race, which is karmically being driven into a state of hell. We are seeing every day that these countries are fighting, taking revenge on each other. There's hundreds and hundreds of planes bombing innocent civilians. It's just completely insane. It's an insane asylum. So Prabhupada came from India for the purpose of giving us a chance to get out of this problematic situation that we're all in: birth, death, disease, old age, and the other miseries of life from other living beings. Adi Bhautika, Adi Devika, Adi Atmaka. These are 3 miseries. There's 7-fold miseries that the living entity experiences in the material world. while they're transmigrating through this material body and in the short duration of life that we all experience. Hey, Vijaya Pandit, time just flies. It's already November 2023. Soon it'll be 2024 as the clock ticks and we approach our final destination. So Prabhupada had a great destination, and we're going to look at, we did finish the reading of the beginnings, a part of the diary. There's two parts to this diary. The one was the early travel from India, and then it was the arrival in New York and his how he worked diligently to spread the Krishna Consciousness movement at a very high pace. It was extraordinary. And I wanted to, if we could go to the drawings that I sent over for you to see. First, we're going to see the sketch of Prabhupada moving. Okay, there he was. He was in Calcutta. And here's the boat journey. Take a look at that, eh? And he traveled over down below Sri Lanka and then over to the Suez Canal and then the Mediterranean Sea, like that, and go ahead. And there he is. He comes out onto the ocean where he went through all the difficulties. And it arrived in Boston and then moved to New York City on September 19th, 1965. So this is back then. This is part of the Jaladutta diary, these opening sketches. I thought it'd be interesting for us to see that. And we're going through it again because we want our new members, people that are coming to our classes and readings and discussions, to also get an opportunity to see this, because these books are not readily available in the marketplace. We're fortunate enough to have them, and we can broadcast it in this in these weekly sessions. So go to the next page, please. The Jaladutta Diary, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And the quote here is, "With what great difficulty I got out of the country, some way or other by Krishna's grace. I got so I could spread the Krishna Consciousness movement all over the world." Srila Prabhupada. So that's a quote from Prabhupada. And here's the first page. The Jaladutta Diary of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And here we'll read the preface to April 1965, while approaching the Scindia steam navigation company in Bombay to sponsor his passage to America, Srila Prabhupada received one of their complimentary diaries. He used it at first as an appointment book. Once his voyage to America on the Jaladutta began in August of that year, he made regular entries in the diary to record the events of the journey. Subsequently, the diary was kept in the safe of the New York Temple until 1972, when Srila Prabhupada requested Bali Mardan Das, the temple president, to take personal care of it. Today, it is still in the care of Bali Mardan Das, and he is arranging for its permanent display and preservation. Excerpts from the diary were first published in 1980 in Volume 1 of Srila Prabhupada Leela Mrita, the authorized biography of Srila Prabhupada. That's questionable. Portions have also appeared in some of the annual Vyas Puja books. With the approach of the Srila Prabhupada centennial in 1966, we feel it is fitting that the diary be presented in its entirety. Srila Prabhupada once wrote in a letter about the need to meticulously preserve the writings of the previous acharyas, especially their handwriting, as follows. We may take care of them by treating them against insects and storing them in tight, dry storage place where they may be preserved for future generations of Vaishnavas to see the actual handwriting and words of such great saintly persons. Treat this matter very seriously and thoroughly, and take all precautions to protect the wonderful boon of literatures forever. These items are very, very priceless and are a great treasure house of Vaishnava love, so be very careful in their matter and take all precautions to guard them. Very profound, especially in light of the fact that all of his books have been changed by the ISKCON group. A letter to Achyutananda Das dated June 12, 1972. Again, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a description of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu praising Rupa Goswami's fastidious handwriting. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anchalila 96, chapter 96, verse 7. Thus, the handwriting specimens of the pure devotees are intimate mementos of their spiritual lives, and we must therefore consider ourselves most fortunate to have the remnants of Srila Prabhupada's handwritings. This diary of the voyage of the Jaladuta is a personal account of the challenging journey that launched Srila Prabhupada's life mission. Readers will find it to be a remarkable document in the history of religious movements. It reveals the full measure of Srila Prabhupada's devotion, faith, and self-abnegation, which qualify him as one of the world's few genuine spiritual leaders. We hope this book will inspire others to appreciate Srila Prabhupada's triumphs over adversity and to follow in his footsteps. So we'll carry on with the reading of these passages in the diary tomorrow morning at the Srimad Bhagavatam reading and discussion. And now we'll move forward to the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava. Please chant along, everyone. And along with that, when Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu is chanting the Sanskrit verses, please practice that. Learn all these verses that he's presenting to us, and in this way enhance your understanding of the process of Shravanam Kirtanam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Amasvat Paramahansa Parivrajaka-Acārya Sattvaresvara Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Navacārya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Bhog Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Girivardhan ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए और ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमर और ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमर थैंक यू वेरी मच
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Tato Jayam Mudirayat. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I do offer my respectful obeisances unto you. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. So welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. It should be noted that this particular reading and discussion is based upon the original 1972 non-adulterated, non-edited version, the 1972 Macmillan version. All synonyms, translations, purports, and commentaries by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Today we'll be reading from chapter 10, text number 1 and 2. And later on in the program, we will be reading a few paragraphs from a lecture by Srila Prabhupada on the same verses. Page 491. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Bhuya Eva Mahabaho Shrunu Me Paramam Vachaha Yatteham Priyamanaya Bhakshyami Hitakamyaya. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Bhuyaha, again, Eva, certainly, Mahabahu, almighty arm, Shrinu, just hear, Me, my, Paramam, supreme, Vachaha, information, Yat, that which, Te, to you, Aham, I, Priyamanaya, thinking you dear to me, Bhakshyami, say, Itakamyaya, for your benefit. Translation. The Supreme Lord said, my dear friend, mighty armed Arjuna, listen again to my supreme word, which I shall impart to you for your benefit, and which will give you great joy. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Paramam is explained thus by Parashar Muni, one who is full in 6 opulences, who has full strength, full fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation, is Paramam, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While Krishna was present on this earth, he displayed all 6 opulences. Therefore, great sages like Parashar Muni have all accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Krishna is instructing Arjuna in more confidential knowledge of his opulences and his work. Previously, beginning with the 7th chapter, the Lord already explained his different energies and how they are acting. Now, in this chapter, he explains his specific opulences to Arjuna. In the previous chapter, he has clearly explained his different energies to establish devotion in firm conviction. Again in this chapter, he tells Arjuna about his manifestations in various opulences. The more one hears about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because he is very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking place. Text number 2. Name viduhu suraganaha prabhavam namaharshayaha ahamadirhi devanam maharishinam cha sarvashaha. Na, never. Me, my. Viduhu, knows. Suragana, demigods. Prabhavam, opulences. Na, never. Maharishayaha, great sages. Aham, I am. Adihi, the origin. He, certainly. Devanam, of the demigods. Maharishinam, of the great sages, cha also, sarvashaha in all respects. Translation: neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and the sages. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. No one is greater than him. He is the cause of all causes. Here it is also stated by the Lord personally that he is the cause of all the demigods and sages. Even the demigods and great sages cannot understand Krishna. They can understand neither his name nor his personality. So what is the position of the so-called scholars of this tiny planet? No one can understand why the Supreme God comes to earth as an ordinary human being and executes such commonplace and yet wonderful activities. One should know then that scholarship is not the qualification necessary to understand Krishna. Even the demigods and the great sages have tried to understand Krishna by their mental speculation, and they have failed to do so. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, it is clearly said that even the great demigods are not able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They can speculate to the limits of their imperfect senses and can reach the opposite conclusion of impersonalism, of something not manifested by the three qualities of material nature, or they can imagine something by mental speculation. But it is not possible to understand Krishna by such foolish speculation. Here the Lord indirectly says that if anyone wants to know the absolute truth, here I am present as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am the Supreme. One should know this. Although one cannot understand the inconceivable Lord who is personally present, he nonetheless exists. We can actually understand Krishna, who is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, simply by studying his words in Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam. The impersonal Brahman can be conceived by persons who are already in the inferior energy of the Lord. But the personality of Godhead cannot be conceived unless one is in the transcendental position. Because most men cannot understand Krishna in his actual situation, out of his causeless mercy, he descends to show favor to such speculators. Yet, despite the Supreme Lord's uncommon activities, these speculators, due to contamination in the material energy, still think that the impersonal Brahman is the Supreme. Only the devotees who are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Lord can understand by the grace of the Supreme Personality that he is Krishna. The devotees of the Lord do not bother about the impersonal Brahman conception of God. Their faith and devotion bring them to surrender immediately unto the Supreme Lord, and out of the causeless mercy of Krishna, they can understand Krishna. No one else can understand him. So even great sages agree. What is Atma? What is the Supreme? It is he whom we have to worship. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with a torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sarkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha Adadana Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Julishyam Janma Janmani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Brindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before we start to discuss some of the points in these verses, I just want to make an announcement. Today, according to the Mayapur calendar, is the day of the Rasa Leela, Sri Krishna Rasadiya Rasa Yatra, the disappearing day of Sri Murari Gupta, one of the personal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who wrote a biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during his manifested presence. It is also the beginning of the month of Kartik, the month of Damodar in Vrindavan, where everybody offers lamps to Lord Damodar in the evening. So I just thought I would make a little bit of an announcement here. So thanks everybody for participating in this reading and discussion. I've been asked again by a devotee 2 days ago, why don't you call this a class? Why is it that Vishwakarma and yourself call these meetings where you read the Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita a reading and discussion? Well, there's a reason for it. And the reason basically is simple. We know from Srila Prabhupada's own books, as well as many direct instructions from His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, that he wanted all of his disciples to systematically read and study his books, his disciples, followers, students, everybody included. So this was a clear instruction that was universally understood by all the devotees. But in due course of time, this tends sometimes to be neglected, as we all know, as it was mentioned by Vishwakarma Prabhu in the introduction. Now that the original books of Srila Prabhupada have been adulterated, interpolated, and changed, we see the great danger to the legacy, to the devotional and transcendental legacy of Srila Prabhupada. It is not a secret that Prabhupada wanted his books to remain as they were. I'm referring to his first edition books. Unfortunately, some people, due to a poor fund of knowledge, have chosen whimsically to change these books and disobey that instruction. So what we're trying to do, humbly trying to do, is study these words. That's why we read the word for word. We carefully read the purport and try to discuss a few of the points, which is basically what Srila Prabhupada expects. This is not meant to be a fire and brimstone lecture preaching down to people. We've all seen plenty of that. This is meant to be a discussion to increase our understanding and to increase our knowledge of the topics about Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya, and his pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. So much for that. Point number 2. My old friend and personal colleague and associate, Achyutananda Swami, now in Florida, made a comment on one of the YouTube postings. Now, please bear in mind that on the internet right now, we have over 125, 140, Venkat Prabhu, maybe you can help me. I don't know how many YouTube classes or Facebook classes we have, or readings or discussions, but it's quite a few. Some comment was made about mentioning of the names of members of the disciplic succession. As part of our discussion several times, we've given some of them the names of the prominent literary giants in our disciplic succession, such as Jiva Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatan Goswami, Baladev Vidyabhushana, Vishwanath Chakravarti. Many of these statements are in the context of those great acharyas who have given substantial literary contribution. It is not meant to minimize, to deprecate, or criticize any of the other acharyas in the line. It is not meant to neglect any of them. I mean, I wish the proper context of the comment that was made was also provided. It would have been helpful. So in connection with this, I just want to relate a little story. In 1976, during the month of Damodar in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada would sit in the courtyard of the Krishna Balaram temple under the tamal tree, and he would give lectures in Hindi to the crowd. So on one occasion, he asked me to chant the Damodar Ashtakam, and I chanted the Damodar Ashtakam. Now, when I first came to the movement, I went to India in 1971 with Guru Kripa Swami. I ended up in Calcutta, and Achyutananda was there. And as anybody will know, he was very prolific in chanting kirtan and bhajans and all the songs of the great Vaishnavacharyas. And Prabhupada was very pleased with his efforts and his publication, The Songs of the Vaishnavacharyas. Now, as part of the singing, he also sang the Damodar Ashtakam in a very melodious tune. So at one particular time, Srila Prabhupada was listening while I was chanting, and at the end, everybody paid obeisances to Prabhupada. And as he was walking back to his room, he asked me, "So was that the tune that Achyutananda used to sing?" I said, "Yes, Srila Prabhupada." And Prabhupada smiled and says, "Yes. That is very nice, first class." So Prabhupada was very pleased with his efforts and his devotional work, especially with his preaching and everything. I had the good fortune and privilege to be with Achyutananda Swami in South India for about a year and a half, 2 years, and Mahamsa Swami in late 74, 75, and 76. Where we were working to finish the Radha Madan Mohan temple in Hyderabad. So it was Prabhupada's mercy and Krishna's mercy. Achyutananda was a pretty powerful preacher, and Prabhupada liked his preaching. And we're very grateful for his comments, and I don't quite understand the context of what he was saying, but I just want to say it is never the intent of any of the participants and conveners of these reading and discussion to either minimize or misrepresent any of our previous acharya. Now to the text. In this particular text number, chapter 10, number 1, the Sanskrit word is given, Priyamanaya, thinking you dear to me. Why is Krishna describing his opulences to Arjuna? Why? There were so many different personalities that were present on this planet when Arjuna was here 5,000 years ago. There were many great sages, many great learned personalities, many powerful personalities. Why did Krishna choose this particular devotee, Arjuna, to reveal the Bhagavad-gītā, to give this transcendental Bhagavad-gītā? And Krishna is explaining nicely here, I shall impart it to you. Listen again to my supreme word, which I shall impart to you for your benefit, and which will give you great joy. And Prabhupada repeats in the second paragraph very nicely, the more one hears about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees, and that will enhance one's devotional service. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because he's very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking place. We all know that later on in the Bhagavad-gītā, in the 18th chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna that I'm revealing this to you because you are not envious of me. Now, this is a very important point. One cannot maintain an inimical, belligerent attitude towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead and expect to understand his position. A few classes ago, a few readings ago, we were discussing an incident which had taken place in Bombay in December of 1972, where Srila Prabhupada was giving a series of lectures at the home of Kartikeya Mahadevya, a life member and very good supporter of Srila Prabhupada and his movement. And there was an Indian gentleman that came there. He was obviously from a Christian background, and he started to argue with Srila Prabhupada about God, the position of God. And Prabhupada was listening, and Prabhupada raised the point, well, who is God? We say Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has all opulences, all fame, all strength, all beauty, all knowledge, all renunciation. This is Krishna, full of all opulences. So if you do not accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord, then who is God? Of course, the man had no explanation. But Prabhupada kept pressing the point. Unless you can explain clearly what is God, what does he do, what are his activities, what are his qualities, where does he live? We all say that everyone comes from God. God is the source of everything. Janmadhyasya yataha. We will see later on in this Bhagavad-gītā chapter 10, text number 8, what Krishna describes, aham sarvasya prabhavo, that I am the source of everything. We've already seen in the 7th chapter what Krishna has described, mata parataram nanyat, kinchidasti dhananjaya. There is no truth superior to me. No one is above Krishna. There is a Sanskrit synonym for Krishna called asamurdva. Asamurdva means there is no one superior to the supreme absolute truth, to the supreme personality of Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada kept preaching to this person, and this person very stubbornly would not accept what Prabhupada was saying. And Prabhupada at some point said, well, if you do not accept and you cannot explain, then what is your position? Of course, the man still had no reply. So this is the position in the material world. Everybody is very proud of their learning, very proud of their position, very proud of their understanding. Atmavan manyate jagat. Prabhupada used to often quote that everyone in the material world always thinks in terms of themselves. This is the disease of the conditioned soul. Along with thinking that I am this body, they're thinking that they're mind, they're also their minds. They're very proud of their little knowledge. Prabhupada used to often give the example called the Andhakupanyaya of the frog in the well. The frog in the well does not know the greatness of the ocean. So when someone informed the frog, well, the ocean is very, very big, very, very large. So the frog is trying to puff it like this, like this. The frog has no idea whatsoever how large is the ocean. So similarly, the conditioned soul in the material world has no idea of the exalted position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is why Krishna revealed the Bhagavad-gītā. The Bhagavad-gītā is very, very powerful book. Why? Because it is spoken directly by God himself, spoken directly by Krishna himself. It is quite significant that in the history of India, of Bharatvarsha, all the great acharyas, even Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarkacharya, Jayatirtha, Vyasatirtha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the six Goswamis, so many of our powerful great acharyas in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, that none of them have ever used this word mythology. None of them have ever described Krishna's activities in Sanskrit, kalpana, simply fiction. It is not fiction. It is factology. It was directly, the pastimes and activities of Lord Krishna were directly enacted on this planet 5,000 years ago. At the end of the Dwapara Yuga, just prior to the beginning of the Kali Yuga. But atheistic-minded persons have invented this argument. Oh, this is all mythology. They will take their own culture, their own background as fact. But the culture of Bharatvarsha and the description of Lord Krishna's activities, Lord Ramachandra's activities, and the wonderful descriptions that are given in the Sanatan Dharma Shastras, the scriptural texts, Vedic texts, that they will say it is simply imagination. This is the unfortunate position in Kali Yuga. Prabhupada says in Kali Yuga, a pauper is proud of his penny. So many symptoms are given in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the Kali Yuga Lakshana, the characteristics of the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, our Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami several times keeps emphasizing the importance of the Maha Mantra. There's a nice verse where he describes Kali Yuga Yuga Dharma Namer Prachar Tate Lagi Pita Varna Chaitanyavata. That in the age of Kali Yuga Pita Varna Chaitanyavatar, that in the age of Kali Yuga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come, Pita Varna, in this golden color, yellowish color. Why did he come? Because so many different personalities have also come in Kali Yuga, great powerful prophets and saints and, Shakti avatars. Kali Yuga Yuga Dharma Namer Pata Tate Laga Pita Varna Chaitanya Avatar. That this incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come for this chanting, delivering this chanting of the Maha Mantra. Everybody knows the very famous verse from the Brihad Naradiya Purana, where Srila Prabhupada would often chant while he would walk in the morning. He would chant japa, and all of a sudden, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Why was this emphasized so many times by Krishnadas Kaviraj, by all of our great acharyas, especially our Srila Prabhupada? I remember one time we were walking with Srila Prabhupada. in Cheviot Hills Park near Beverly Hills in Los Angeles, in Sarup Damodar, Korandar, Keshava, so many senior devotees were there, and Prabhupada would often talk that life comes from life, that the modern theory that everything is simply a combination of chemicals, that would be nonsense. So many times, it's a very beautiful park, very well maintained. So Prabhupada would walk, and several times he would not speak, he would just chant. And I remember one time he just stopped, and he looked everybody in the eyes, and he repeated that shloka, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Prabhupada, in this age, this is the only solution, this chanting. Why? Because of the powerful influence of Kali Yuga. Just like in the beginning of our meeting today, Vishwakarma Prabhu alluded to the fact that there is so much strife and conflict in so many places around the world. Everybody has heard about this situation between Ukraine and Russia. Now we have a situation with Israel and the Palestinians, not necessarily Palestine, but Israel and Hamas. There is conflict between different nations. Different groups are fighting for supremacy, for control. Why? Because they do not know the Supreme Personality of God. They forget the real position of God. We see at the end of the 5th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna explains the peace formula. The peace formula is not very complicated. It is not very difficult. When Srila Prabhupada was preaching, starting his preaching in 1966, I was told this story by Gargamuni Maharaj. In the beginning, they didn't have big books. They didn't have this Bhagavad-gītā. They didn't have the Bhagavatam. They didn't have Ishopanishad. What they had is they had some of Prabhupada's lectures, like on chanting the Maha Mantra, 2-page little leaflet. They have Who is Crazy, a 2 or 3-page little discourse that Prabhupada has given about the position of the living entity in the material world. And they had the peace formula. Because everybody remembers at that time, the war in Vietnam was very, very prominent. And there was a lot of protest with many people, especially in America. They were protesting this war. So this little pamphlet, Gargamuni one time said, they would have a little cart. They would go in the street. They would have this little pamphlet. And this was the beginning where they mimeographed some lectures from Srila Prabhupada, and they put it Back to Godhead magazine together. So there was but the message, the pure message given by Srila Prabhupada was coming out. It was coming out. So they would have this little cart, and people sometimes would offer a few donations, and they would distribute these leaflets. They would basically request people to take the leaflet, the peace formula, Who is Crazy, on chanting the Maha Mantra. This was very simple. Some of them were 1 page, 2 pages, 2 or 3 pages. And gradually, by 68, 69, the first Bhagavad-gītā, the abridged Bhagavad-gītā with a purple cover with a picture of Lord Vishnu came out. The Ishopanishad came out. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya came out. And gradually more and more literatures came out. So the point that I'm trying to say is that the peace formula is already given by Krishna in the Bhagavad-gītā. It's given in the last text of chapter 5. We'll go exactly to the same text, so it is very clear. And this is very pertinent to the situation that everybody is talking about with the conflict that is going on in the Middle East, in Ukraine. Krishna says, chapter 5, text 29, Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Yatvamam Shantim Richati. Everybody has heard the word Shanti in Sanskrit means peace. So Krishna says, the sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. Now, this is quite significant because Prabhupada gives a very long purport on this topic. But this is the real peace formula, to understand that Krishna, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, is the owner of all the planets. Everything belongs to God. Suridam Sarvabhutan, he is the friend of all living entities, whether they are Jews, Christian, Buddhists, Muslims, anybody, every living entity, not just humans, all animals, all living entities. God, Krishna, is the friend of all living entities. So this is a very important point. Bhoktaram yaktatapasam. That is, God is the enjoyer, the ultimate enjoyer of all sacrifices. All of one's work should be dedicated to God, to Krishna. Now, if one understands this and follows this, then the path of peace, both individually and collectively, is there, is guaranteed. Now, there's another point that Prabhupada mentions about the great sage Parashar Muni, the father of Vyasadeva. It's important because in the Vishnu Purana, he describes the definition of God, Aishvaryasya Samagrasya, Viryasa Yashashasriya, Jnana Vairagyaschayo Sannam Bhaga Itingana. That the person who has complete all qualities, all beauty, all fame, all wealth, all knowledge, all renunciation, all qualities in full, that is the description of Bhagavan, one who is full of all opulences, a person, the pure transcendental person, Krishna. So this is the greatness of Srila Prabhupada, that he came to the Western countries and he delivered this message, this transcendental gift of Krishna consciousness, the Maha Mantra, how to practice the science of bhakti, how to engage in the service of Krishna by offering foodstuff to Krishna, by offering our service to Krishna, by offering our submissive oral reception to the message of Krishna. This is very important. Just like we will be having a festival at Bhakti Singh's place. He has a temple in Sacramento, California, on Sunday, the 12th of November. This is to celebrate the Govardhan Puja. This is the day where Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill to protect the inhabitants of Vrindavan. In the Krishna book, it is described how Lord Indra, the master of the heavenly planets, was very angry with Krishna because he had stopped some sacrificial offerings which had been arranged by the inhabitants of Vrindavan. So he arranged to pour torrential rain upon Vrindavan to flood the whole of Vrindavan. And they all appealed to Krishna. Oh, what are we going to do, Krishna? Krishna lifted the hill, Govardhan Hill, with his left finger. Very simple, very beautiful, not very complicated. So this is a very special festival that everyone can observe. The actual date is on the 14th of November, but for practical purposes, we're going to be celebrating on Sunday, 12th of November, California time. This will be, the program will be available on the internet. So we invite everybody to participate on that day. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Haribol, thank you very much, Yaśodā-nandana, for your explanation of these verses this morning at the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is reading and discussion, and gives us insight in how we can make progress in our own spiritual life to understand who Krishna is, because this is the greatest gift that one can receive in the human form of life is to understand the purpose of human form of life. And Prabhupada, in his purports, gives us an understanding, a proper understanding of what Krishna is teaching in the verses of the Bhagavad-gītā. So I thought it was rather profound, or prophetic, actually, that Prabhupada refers in text 1 to one of the necessary qualifications for an individual to become enlightened in spiritual life. And going to the end of that purport, you mentioned it already. I wanted to further discuss that. The more one hears about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. Fixed. Because everybody is wandering around in this world trying to make money and trying to become famous. And some of us, we're just trying to survive. But at any rate, the more we focus, the one should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees, which is the function of this group, that will enhance one's devotional service. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those. Now here's the key words here, Prabhus, really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. And this is an insight that we can all have based on people's participation in Krishna consciousness. And that takes determination. That also, you have to have a certain amount of enthusiasm for that. Because enthusiasm is one of the key principles in applying yourself to this process of devotional service. You have to be enthusiastic. I can remember Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu in Toronto when I was the serving there. We had a lot of very enthusiastic godbrothers and godsisters working with us. Very. And they were of true pleasure to be around. There was a godbrother of ours, Hare Krishna Prabhu from Buffalo. His parents, his grandparents founded Arrow Shirts. So he came from a successful family. But somehow or other, he became part of the Sankirtan mission of Prabhupada. He was working with Jayananda in New York in the 76 Rath Yatra. And it was through his association with Jayananda that the spark of enthusiasm came. And so we every day at the temple, we would have an enthusiastic kirtan every day. And Murli, who was a very handsome man, eventually he became a model and a personality, and a very popular high school teacher in Buffalo, by the way. He got all kinds of awards and appreciations. But when he was with us at the temple, he was the most enthusiastic person to chant. It was unbelievable. And he would chant across the front with Sri Lokanath Prabhu and Jita Kandarpa. And then myself, the four of us would be, I remember there were some others with us. I don't recall their names. But we would chant on for an hour every morning. And they would dance like back and forth in front of the deity house. And it was truly a celebration. And Murli and all of the God brothers that were with us, they personified enthusiasm, no false ego, no fault-finding tendency. They were completely free from that. They were interested only in one thing, to make advancement in spiritual life. And I wanted to refer to the nectar of instruction. If Vinkat could bring us to text 3. Prabhupada translated this very valuable book for us to learn and study about. Utsahan nishchaya dariyat tat karma pravartanat sangha tyagat sato brite sadbir bhakti prasiddhiti. Translation. These are principles for all of us here at this group to carefully hear. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regulated principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Now, on page 30 of the purport, one should accept this opportunity to return home back to Godhead very enthusiastically. Without enthusiasm, one cannot become successful. A student, businessman, artist, or anyone else who wants to success in his line must be enthusiastic. Similarly, one has to be very enthusiastic in devotional service. Enthusiasm means action, but for action for whom? The answer is that one should always act for Krishna. Krishna Takila Chetasa, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, we have so many things that we must do in our life, but if we make our devotional service a priority in our life and step up, make a change in your life, and take up the mission of Lord Chaitanya with us, you'll become very happy in this life, because enthusiasm to serve Prabhupada and his mission and the Vaishnavas that are committed to it is the means by which you become free from the illusion of material existence. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please.
As mentioned earlier in this discussion, we'll be reading a few paragraphs from a lecture by Srila Prabhupada in New York, USA on December 27th, 1966. December 27th, 1966 in New York. Prabhupada, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Bhagavan, this very word is very significant. You should try to understand what does it mean. Bhaga. Bhaga means opulence, and Bhagavan means one who has got opulences. The Sanskrit grammar there is an affix called vat. Vat means possessing. Atake vatit. When the sense of possession is there, this vat affix is there. So bhaga. Bhaga means opulence, and plus vat. That means one who has got opulence. That is the meaning of Bhagavan. Now, what are the opulences? You've got, every one of you, you've got the idea of opulences. What are those opulences? Wealth, riches, strength or influence and fame, and beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. These 6 things are called opulences. If a man has got sufficient riches, he attracts. This man attracts poor men. This is an instrument of attracting. Sometimes we also approach very rich men. Give us some contribution. Although we are Krishna conscious, so richness has got attraction. You cannot deny it. Of course, for Krishna, we can do anything. We have no restriction. For Krishna's service, we can do everything. So anyway, richness. If a man is very rich, wealthy, he attracts. That is, there are 6 opulences which attract. Then if a man is very strong, he also attracts bala. A strong man, either by influence or by his bodily strength, he attracts. If there is a strong man, many women is attracted. So strength is also another feature of attraction. Wealth, strength, and then fame. If a man is very famous, just take any famous man of the world. If he comes in this room, thousands of people will come here. When Gandhi was alive, I read one news from the newspaper in India that in some Italian city, there was great crowd. Innumerable people gathered in the station, and nobody could understand why these people are assembled there. So when they're asked, they replied that, we have heard that Gandhi is coming here. Mahatma Gandhi, perhaps you heard his name. He was a very famous man, politician. So actually the news that they are published, there was one Mr. Gandhi. So he was coming. And people misunderstood as Gandhi. So my point is that a famous man also attracts. These things are attraction: richness, wealth, and strength, and fame. Then beauty. Beauty also attracts. If a man is beautiful or woman is beautiful, many men or women are after them beautiful. Any beautiful, not only man or woman, any beautiful flower, any beautiful picture, anything beautiful that attracts beauty. Form and knowledge. If one is learned, he is known as very possessing much knowledge. Just like great scientists, philosophers, or religionists, or teacher, they also attract. And renunciation, that is also another attraction. If a man is in the renounced order of life, renunciation means one who has got all these things: richness, fame, beauty, knowledge, but he renounces everything for some higher purpose. Just like in our country, for national movement, so many rich men, they renounce everything. One or some of them, perhaps you know, there was one Mr. C.R. Das. He was earning $50,000 a month as a lawyer. So everything renounced. He joined this movement. And perhaps you have heard the name of Nehru. Nehru was a very rich man's son. His father was a very rich lawyer. His father's history that in those days, there was not a single day when he was not earning $500. Then so he was also a very rich man's son, but he renounced everything, his father's property and everything, and joined this Indian national movement. He went to prison by the government. So renunciation has also attraction. So the definition of God is there. Bhagavan, we should know who is God. The definition is Esvaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashasriya jnana vairagya yascheva sannam bhaga itingana. The Sanskrit definition of Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that one who has got the complete wealth, complete strength, complete fame, complete beauty, complete knowledge, and complete renunciation. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Excellent. We have a very interesting group today, and we want to thank all of the people that are joining our readings and discussions. And the numbers are expanding every week steadily. And we have Jonas Priya in Hawaii, Dharma Bhavana in Texas, Madhu Brata, who's a very serious Vaishnava in Montreal working with Aprakrita. He's also attending the classes every week. Rupesh Chavan and Paranjana Prabhu, one of our godbrothers. Maybe we could get them to share their understandings of this verse for the benefit of everyone at this program. Jonas Priya Prabhu in Hawaii. Is your microphone working by chance?
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Thank you.
Hallelujah. Yeah, thank you very much for providing such a beautiful exhibition of Krishna consciousness as it is, as Prabhupada taught us how to do this very blissful process of Krishna consciousness. And it's a very simple process. One does not require any special equipment. Everything that we need to worship Krishna and worship Guru and associate with Vaishnavas is right there. And we're so very fortunate that technology come such a long ways where we could be on the comfort of our little home or place and still be part of a sangha. I mean, I feel like, hey, this is my family. These are my buddies, you know. This is a party for me to be here. And we should be like that in Krishna's consciousness. Prabhupada said that every day should be a festival in Krishna consciousness. And it is, you know. If you get up and you dance and you feast and then you go and you talk and you go out and you do stuff. That's the life of a devotee. Very simple life. Sadhana bhakti is a process that is there and it works. It's a process, so it's not like Christians go to one lecture and they baptize next day and they're done. They're reborn. It's nice. It's a beautiful way to think. Yeah, it's like starting. So we do, but we have to keep on going. And Prabhupada taught us that you have to chant. And what's the goal of chanting this Maha Mantra? Is so one day we could actually sit down and chant this Maha Mantra. That's the goal. And the same, and then it goes beyond that we have to keep on going till the holy name becomes our breath. And if we don't do this, then we feel like we're dying. So this is the consciousness we want to develop, that we're not hearing or chanting about Krishna or being engaged in any of the other processes, then our life is pretty much useless. And especially if we're greedy and we are not sharing this knowledge with anybody, even the animals. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Dharma Bhavana in Texas. Could you share your understandings today, please?
Hare Krishna, I'm on my cell phone. Can you hear?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I was just thinking how in some way we're associating many miles apart to the Zoom programs. And it is a beautiful thing that there's no exact blueprint for this, because previously all of us lived mostly in a temple or close to a temple. But now we're just praying to Srila Prabhupada and Lord Krishna to give us some guidance how to associate together. like the verse, Machita Madhgata Prana Bodhyanta Parasparam. We're just doing what Bhagavad-gītā says to do by associating with devotees, speaking to each other, having conversations, asking questions, answering questions. And so I appreciate these discussions, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madhu Brata in Montreal. Is your microphone available to speak on your realizations for our group this morning? Madhu Brata, are you there? Okay, appears his mic is not on. Rupesh Chavan has been posting a lot on our Prabhupada Disciples Association Facebook page. Prabhu, can you speak in your microphone? I know you're in India somewhere. Share your realizations with us this morning. Rupesh Chavan. Is he there, Vinkat Bhatta, in Bangalore? Do you see him?
He's on the call, but he may not be able to speak on the microphone. He says no comment, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu, for your service. Tim Lee, Paranjana, maybe you could share your insights for us this morning at this session.
Bob, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. Well, I was thinking today that, one of the biggest problems we have in ISKCON is that people haven't understood the supersoul aspect of Krishna. We're all part of Krishna, and if we realize that, actually, then we're going to behave very carefully. So devotees don't behave very carefully because they're disconnected from the supersoul realization. They haven't understood. So this is something that was in previous ages, took many years, hundreds of thousands of years. They would meditate to realize the supersoul, and gradually they would realize that Krishna is within us. And then naturally, if you understand that you're a subordinate of Krishna, and Krishna's a witness, and he's with you at all times, then you're going to behave accordingly. Mm-hmm. So something that it seems very simple, but it's actually not that easy, and that's why it took 100,000 years for people previously to realize that. So I think this is a big issue, that's fundamentally wrong with ISKCON. People are just diving into, Gopi Rasika and all these kind of things without understanding the foundation of everything, that you have to understand your original connection to Krishna before you can dive into all these other aspects of the philosophy. And it's something that we're kind of running before we can walk type of thing. And so it's something that's, I think we should try to emphasize more. And I made a little illustration of that, how the supersoul.
Can you share it?
Yeah, let me see. I don't know where my thing has disappeared here.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, the point is, I think that we've lost our enthusiasm too. We're talking about enthusiasm because we've misunderstood the process of how to walk on this path. So we have to begin at the beginning. The beginning is you have to understand with the supersoul at all times. Then you're going to act appropriately and accordingly. And we have not come to that stage, and we've jumped ahead. Now we're gurus, we're advanced brahmanas, we're this, we're that, and we're not on that level. So it's causing a lot of disturbance. And Prabhupada was very aware of how we had a tendency to do that, and so he was always talking about be very careful. Don't jump ahead. Don't jump over your guru. Don't jump into the 10th canto and things like that, because then the society will reflect that. It will be artificially attempting to advance. And then when you have an artificial platform, then there's no foundation. So anyway, I wanted to share one little section here, teachings of Queen Kunti. Approaching Krishna, the all-pervading truth. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandana Dāsa Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherd men of Vrindavan, and the enlivener of the cows and senses. The Lord, being thus unapproachable by any material assets, out of unbounded and causeless mercy, descends on this earth as he is, in order to show his special mercy upon his unalloyed devotees and to diminish the upsurges of the demoniac persons. Queen Kunti specifically adores the incarnation or descent of Lord Krishna above all other incarnations, because in this particular incarnation he is more approachable. In the Rama incarnation, he remained a king's son from very childhood, but in the incarnation of Krishna, although he was the son of a king, he at once left the shelter of his real father and mother, King Vasudeva and Queen Devaki, just after his appearance, and went to the lap of Yasoda Maya to play the part of an ordinary cowherd boy in the blessed Brajabhumi, which is very sanctified because of his childhood pastimes. Therefore, Lord Krishna is more merciful than Lord Rama. He was undoubtedly very kind to Kunti's brother Vasudeva and the family. Had he not become the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, Queen Kunti could not claim him to be her nephew and thus address Krishna in parental affection. But Nanda and Yasoda are more fortunate because they could relish the Lord's childhood pastimes, which are more attractive than all other pastimes. There is no parallel to his childhood pastimes as exhibited in Brajabhumi, which are the prototypes of his eternal affairs and the original Krishna Loka, described as a Chintamani Dham in the Brahma Samhita. So anyway, these are some of the pastimes, like Lord Indra coming to devastate the inhabitants and so many things like that. And so all we have to do is quite simple. We meditate on these pastimes and absorb our mind in these pastimes. And as far as enthusiasm, it means determination. If you're determined to meet Krishna, you will meet Krishna. I mean, that's the basic sensible thing here. And I think that's a big problem. We don't have the determination. And then we don't have the enthusiasm, and then everything slacks down and we fall away from Krishna, and that's why we're here in the material world. But also, I just became another granddad, and I was holding a little baby girl, and she's a new person in our family. And from that, I can really meditate on how our bodies are changing. She's just like the size of a watermelon. So, we're just in a changing body situation, and we don't realize that. And our body's going to change very soon. We won't be in this body, and we'll be somewhere else. So, very important to try to focus on Krishna in this life as much as we can, and hope, and our next life will be in the association of devotees and born in a better condition for executing devotional service. Jai, Haribol.
Haribol. Thank you very much. And we're moving to the end of our program. Just while you were mentioning that point, I was going through some of my messages from my colleagues last night, and I found two pictures of a lady who was coming to the Hamilton ashram for prasadam and chanting. and she's recently passed away. A friend of our, one of my godbrothers, and it was very sobering to see how the light goes off very quickly, like the turning off and on of a light switch. The human being comes and goes in this material world, and we have practical experience when you're preaching that some of the people you work with, they leave you without notice. Venkat Bhatta in Bangalore, India. I see we have a lot of chats on the been posted. Any comments that we should refer to before we end up the program, because we're past our time?
Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu has posted the Damodara Ashtakam, and so that's the 8 verses and the meanings and all that. So that's meant to be chanted daily for this month. Other than that, there's nothing else in the chat I can see.
Okay, excellent. Now, Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, these chats, do they dissipate at the end of the class? Is that what happens? So there's no future reference for the people that view the program on YouTube later?
All right, yeah, the Zoom chats they don't show up on YouTube.
Okay.
So yeah, they're temporary.
All right, so we're coming to the end of the program. Thank you, everyone. We had a very large turnout today to participate in the Zoom program, and we want to encourage you to continue your sadhana program with our group 3 days a week. And tomorrow we'll have Srimad Bhagavatam class at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Canada and the US. And carry on with your 16 rounds, the following of the principles. And for those who can contact us, you're more than welcome to be in touch. If you have any questions or any desire to help us in our service, we will welcome you into the group with enthusiasm. So thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Let's chant along for the last section of the program this morning with the Maha Mantra and our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Oh, Hare Krishna.